The latest drought monitor for our viewing area is in hot off the press, and we've done a fantastic job of eradicating almost altogether the severe, if not extreme, conditions that had built up during the first half of 2025. And given how saturated an overall rainy October could be, naturally ebbing and flowing between very short breaks between rain barrages like the one we're going to see this weekend, we're going to continue to bring down the dry conditions, especially for our neighbors across west and northern Florida. You can see on the latest drought monitor, much of our viewing area is clear and good to go. And when you expand the shot out, we've even dropped the severe drought conditions that had been much more persistent down across the southeast corner of the peninsula. If you rewind about a month ago or so, between West Palm and Miami, we actually still had moderate to severe conditions built up, but that has since changed with each of these weak impulses of tropical moisture and leftover fronts hanging out overhead, providing us with generous amounts of rainfall, almost in a marathon style pace. And that's pretty much what we're going to be seeing this weekend. You look at the overall flow here, we've got high pressure to our north, a stationary boundary draped over about Lake Okeechobee, west to east across the peninsula. And then just off the corner of the southeast tip of Florida, we've got a very weak disturbance that National Hurricane Center has highlighted for a low end potential at actually trying to spin up into something. We will probably see a little bit of curvature in the wind flow around that, a very, very weak low pressure. But right now, confidence is very low that it actually spins up into anything hostile or really worth focusing in on. Regardless, though, we're going to see this persistent feed of moisture running across the state from today through tomorrow, and then really ramping up for your Saturday and Sunday. But the main thing I want to talk to you about today is, will the drought conditions stay at bay? Will we continue to see these healthy doses of rainfall throughout the Florida Peninsula? Well, when you look at what we have shaping up for the winter time, that might change a little bit. We've talked a little bit about La Nina throughout the summer and especially the duration of the hurricane season. Climate Prediction Center and the NOAA officials who forecast for our seasonal outlooks are fully on board with La Nina coming to a head, if you will, throughout this month, probably really becoming official before we rock out of October into November. And if you look at the way the jet stream is configured here, as we rock into the winter together, usually we get away from the tropics, of course, as expected, and we start to follow our winter storm systems along the jet axes. And looking at this chart here, if you were to draw it out, and I'll go ahead and do some doodling for you. If you imagine the upper level flow is rocking across the country like so, our low pressure systems that form up in that area tend to follow the flow. It's like their lifeline, their life source. And when you think about it, the way the winds turn counterclockwise around our storm systems, it'll typically pull moisture up from the south and then really help to bring down cooler, drier air. So while we'll still see batches of rainfall on occasion as these storm systems move across west to east the interior United States, more of that dry air will remain in place on the backside. If it were an El Nino setup, it would be totally different. We would have that jet stream much further south, bringing those storm systems directly overhead to where we receive a lot more of the gratuitous rainfall with them. So I do think we're going to have to hold on to our water as we go through the months of November and especially December, January, February, and maybe even as late as March, because our subseasonal and our seasonal computer models that take a look at the broad spectrum of what seasons could look like, fall, winter, spring, summer, etc. We use the same dynamical models for the hurricane season. They're showing that we could very well be below average in precip throughout the winter season leading into spring, and as well as La Nina holding steady until about springtime before it looks like we could retrograde right back into an El Nino, which could make things a little more interesting for next calendar year. But I'm not going to bombard you with all that. Time's already been flying by. Let's get through the rest of 2025 safe and sound.